Okay. Now, I'm going to create another variable. It's going to be current story divs, or I guess HTML box, I don't know, whatever. And this is just going to call story DOM object on my current story. So story DOM object is going to create the HTML box for my current story. And of course, we haven't written code for story DOM object yet. So at this point, we're going to just fill that in. And to do so, like I said before, is there a way to split screen for this? Oh, that's kind of bad.
You can probably hide your folders.
Well, I wanted to also have this up.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Okay, anyways. So story.object object is basically just going to create an HTML box for each of your stories that looks like this, right? So I'm basically just going to write code to create each of these elements one at a time, to set their attributes one at a time, like their classes and their IDs, and I'm just going to put it all together and return this big chunk at the end of story.object. And if you're confused what methods I'm using, or if you're confused as to what methods you should use for this, you can, again, look into profile.js. We finally went over a lot of the methods for this yesterday, but I'm just going to start filling this out. And I'm going to cheat a little. I have the answer over here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the outside div. Let's just call that card, right? So like a card for our stories. And we're going to do document create element in order to create element of type div. And we want this div to have ID equal to the ID of the story and class equal to story card. So I'm just going to set the attribute of this element's ID to be equal to story JSON's ID. Any questions about that?
You spelled attribute wrong.
I spelled attribute. Thanks. I have the answer like right here, and I still did something wrong. Attribute. Okay. Cool. And I'm also going to set its class name to be equal to story card. Next, I'm going to create the second set over here. So let's just call that the card's body. So const card body, and we're going to create another HTML element of type div.
By the way, these slides are online if you guys just want them here.
Oh yeah, these slides are also online. Good call. As you can probably tell, sometimes you just kind of have to get down and dirty with JavaScript and just kind of like make things happen like one line at a time. We want the card's class to be card-body. And finally, we want to put this div inside of the first div that we created. So we're going to do card.appendChild, card body. Cool. Next, we're going to make the stuff that goes inside of the card body. So this stuff, it's IAP here. So we're going to do, I'm going to call this the creator span because this is where we will put the creator's name. And it's going to be document create element A. This element is has the A tag because eventually we want to make it, or if you remember, the A tag allows you to make links, and eventually we're going to want to create links to other people's profiles when you click on their names in the comments, but we won't be doing that in this workshop. We're going to make the class name for that story-creator card-title. And we're going to fill it with the story's creator. So this is creating. And we're going to want to append this element to the card body. I'm just going to do the same thing for the paragraph, which will actually contain the contents, so we're going to call that the content span. P. And it's basically a lot of the same thing. So we're going to set its class name to story-content-text. And we're going to set its contents to your story object's content. And again, you're also going to append this to the card body. Cool. Finally, we're going to work on this div right here. This will be the box that we will put our comments in later. So we're going to call it the card footer. And we're just going to create another div. And we're going to set its class name to be card footer. If you're unsure as to where I came up with all these class names, some of these are classes from Bootstrap, and some of them are classes that are given styles to, that we give styles to in style.css, which you can take a look at, I guess, later. Okay, so we're going to append this div to the card footer. And finally, we're going to create the actual box that contains the comments. So this will be the comments div. If you're like falling behind in like keeping up with me, don't worry. I have a branch set up that you can check out that will bring you up to this point. So I would just focus on trying to understand what I'm doing instead. Cool. And I'm going to set the comments div. Again, the comments div will also have a unique ID here that we will use to refer back to this box when we want to add comments to it. So we're going to set its ID to be equal to our story's ID, and then just plus comments at the end.
Story JSON ID.
Thanks, I'm bad. You're absolutely correct. Sorry. Nice. And then we're going to set the class name of the comments div to story-comments. And finally, we'll append this to the card footer. Thanks.
And in line 20, there's a...
Oh god, there's more. Got you. Okay. And now that we're done, we're going to return the card. So basically, all of this code that I've written here is just to create a structure that looks like this. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah? Okay. And hopefully I don't have any more typos. So, oh wait, sorry, one last step. Now that I've returned the card in story DOM object, back in render stories, I'm actually going to want to prepend each of these boxes for each story into my stories div. So if you recall, I get the stories div up here. It's just the stories div inside the index.html. So stories div.prepend story DOM object. Prepend, so if you use append child, it adds the element to the end of your list, and if you use prepend, it adds it to the beginning. And we're using prepend because in the newsfeed, we want the newest story to be on top. Cool. So stories div.prepend story DOM object current story HTML box. Long variable name. Okay. And hopefully, no more typos. Lots of typos.
Is it a child?
No, it should be prepend. I just did something wrong. What's up? You're right. Okay, cool. So right now, with everything that I've done, index.html now displays all of the stories. Any questions? Yeah.
Can you use dot class name and dot set attribute? So can you use like dot ID to set the ID, or is that bad practice? Or?
I don't think you can.
Do you know? Quick Google search.
I'm not sure if .id is a thing.
Can you do dot set attribute class and then if you want to set class?
No, I don't think so either.
Wait.
It's just a very like.
Because in my head, these are all things that go on the tags in the HTML, but you set them different.
I would just Google this. You would find this page in like the first.
Well, I didn't know if there was a standard practice for something.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure. I kind of just went along with what Rupine did because he's the front end guy. Honestly.
To be honest, he just used my code, so.
Oh,
this is all my
that's why
fault.
it's broken. Okay.
So,
that's
this is
why
all my fault.
everything is messy. You can actually set attribute class. Now that I think about it, it might be better to like keep your code consistent. So I might actually do .id if that exists, or set attribute class, which clearly exists because it's right here.
I don't think there's a set and standard like what is like. There's not some standard, but I think the best thing to do is just be consistent.
Yeah.
Because the confusing thing is if somebody else is looking at code, you use a whole bunch of different things, which we might be doing.
Oops.
It's technically my bad. Not
Really
yours.
is bad. Okay, cool. Does this make sense? Are there any other questions? Yeah.
Inside a JavaScript function, are operations guaranteed to be synchronous?
No. Inside a JavaScript function, are operations guaranteed sync? No. That is why you can. That is why if you want to like say make an API request inside of another API request, or inside the callback function of another API request, you'll also need to include a callback function for the inside one.
Okay, well, all of that is, there's things that depend on
So the reason why like we need callback functions for the API methods is because, at least my basic understanding of it is that like they take longer to run, right? So like I guess normal like JavaScript like code like this that doesn't like go out and fetch things from like the outside of the world or through the internet will be fast enough to basically run like as if it were synchronous. Yeah, not 100% sure about that. It's definitely not like synchronous though, but I don't know if my explanation was 100% correct. I would Google it if you have further questions. Yeah. Okay, so to catch up to where I am now, where we have an index.html page that displays all the stories, just follow these steps. So git reset -- hard to reset the changes you've made, and then git check out this new branch, which basically contains the code that I just wrote. Some of you weren't here when we were explaining it. Yesterday, we planned to use git stash. Git stash is sort of meant for something different than simply resetting resetting all your work. If you want to know a little more about that, Google it.
We'll likely have a more advanced Git lecture next week where we go into more detail about like branches and all this information. So if you're interested, stay tuned for next week.
Okay, who needs more time to do this? Cool, so let's just open up index.html after you're done with this and make sure that all the stories appear. Raise your hand if you have any issues. I will do this too, just to make sure. Cool. Yeah.
Just a general question. What's the general structure that you use to create a website that populates data based on something with the index? Would you create your own API? And then host your own API?
Yeah. We're going to have a lecture on databases tomorrow. It might be better to ask your question during that lecture instead. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to part 2 of exercise 2. It's basically going to be roughly the same thing, except you're going to be now fetching all of your comments. Yeah? So you're going to write code to fetch all of your comments for each of your stories. You're going to then fill in comment DOM object in order to create HTML boxes for those comments. And then, for each story, you're going to append all of your comments. So it's sort of the same thing. We've also created a structure for your comment objects here. I'll just go over it real quick. So again, the outside div has a unique ID that belongs to the comments. Again, this is so that later on, if we want to make changes to a specific comment, we can really easily find this comment given its ID and just make changes to it. The inside div just contains the main comment information. So just, again, like the creator of the comments and the content of the comments. This bar here, is basically just to make the formatting look nice. So if I go into Catbook, this is just what it's doing. It's this bar right here between the name and the contents of the comment. So don't get tripped up over that. And yeah, so a hint is that you will need to have nested for loop, so you're going to have a double for loop, so you're going to start your code inside of this for loop. And then you're also going to want to make additional GET requests inside of this loop. Cool. And if you forget how to fetch the comments div for each story, we can go back. It's just the story's ID and then dash comments. So that's where you'll be putting all of your comments for each story. Okay, I will give you guys like 10 minutes to do this. hopefully this part 2 should make more sense after going through part 1 because it's just a lot of like, it's very similar. Raise your hand if you have questions and we will come around to help you guys. Is this a question or do you need help?
Well, I think the comments API is returning nothing right now. Like, maybe it's just the.
Here, I'll check it out.
Okay, thanks, man. Hope that's. It shouldn't be returning nothing because this uses the same API and it's working. So, yeah, Aaron will probably just want to help you with that.
Do you know yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, just share. Share live. What's up? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just a reminder that the endpoint for getting the comments, so /API/comment, actually takes in a parameter, and that parameter is the ID of its parent story.
If anyone's lost, raise your hand. You probably just do class breaks, then do something breaks, go back to what it was. Yeah, a lot of shit for JavaScript back into it, it's like there's a million ways to do one thing, and if you have one developer to do one thing, that's why we try our best to make everything that was the thing that was hard.
/API/comment confusion that we have. And parent, yep, that was, it's probably let story, yep, that was good. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Getting the ID. It looks like it's reading the ID. Okay, so you need a passage in JSON. So story divs so first you're doing the API call for the stories, and you need to prepend the story. That has to happen. Then you need to make an API request for the comments. That'll give you the comments. Okay, so you never even call comments.object, so that the error can't be there. So you're pointing, so alright, so story div.prepend comments.object. So you actually don't want to do that. So like what Daniel was doing in class is you kind of want to make sense with the shift that you came out. You know how we made something that looks like this, like an empty div where you can insert stuff into? You want to follow the same design pattern. So index in index.js, your comment, your just story thing, wants to make an empty div with a unique ID where you're going to jam comments in. So you actually already made it right here. Like you created a div that has a unique story ID dash comments is actually so you don't need this comment on logic down here. And you don't need that prepend, you just complete that one. And then in here, you're going to need to find that unique story ID dash comments and then load in those comments. Yeah, and prepend all the comments. Technically, I think Facebook appends comments. Like if you scroll down, the newest comments at the very bottom. I think our code appends comments, but it's really up to like whatever you think.
I'm about to run this.
Generally, follow what means. Facebook puts most recent things on the top, prepend stories, and most recent comments on the bars.
Wait, what you do?
So Danny, I just like the third person now.
All right, cool. I am now just going to walk through the code to do this. So yeah, once again, there is a branch at the end that will catch you up to the completed solution. So don't stress out too much about typing the exact same things as me. Just try to follow along and understand what I'm doing. Cool.